He didn't believe in death. He believed in control. When the magician Eldric looked at a dying man, he didn't see tragedy. He saw opportunity. Opportunity to test another spell. Opportunity to decide who deserved to live and who didn't. People once whispered his name with awe. Now they whisper it in fear. Part 1. The Rise of Eldric. Eldric was not born cruel. He was born brilliant, a boy who could twist light into patterns, bend shadows into shapes, and make the stars above flicker like candles when he was barely 10 years old. By the time he turned 30, he was called Eldric the Eternal. He lived in a towering castle of black stone on the edge of the ocean, where the waves crashed like drums against the cliffs. He had everything: gold, power, and worshippers who kissed the ground he walked on. But inside, Eldric was hollow. He wasn't satisfied with performing magic. He wanted to own it. He didn't just want to heal the sick, he wanted to choose who lived. He didn't just want to delay death, he wanted to erase it. So he started experimenting. Not on animals, not on volunteers, but on people who displeased him. A servant who dropped a glass of wine, a villager who didn't bow fast enough. They became his subjects. He would whisper spells in ancient tongues as their souls trembled under his power, testing his latest enchantment, the spell of forever. Part 2. The Forbidden Magic. There was one rule every magician swore to follow: never mix blood with life magic. Blood binds, blood traps, blood twists the soul. But Eldric wanted more than rules. He wanted results. He believed if he could anchor a soul in blood, he could stop death itself. So he gathered 100 hearts, real, beating hearts from his victims. He locked himself in his tower for 7 nights, surrounded by burning sigils and whispers of the damned. And on the 7th night, lightning struck the sea. The earth trembled, and Eldric stepped out holding a crystal, glowing red, pulsing like a living thing. He called it the Life Crystal. He touched a dead rose with it, and the rose bloomed. He touched a dead bird, and it sang again. He had done it. He had created life from death. But the next morning, the rose's petals bled. The bird sang a human scream before collapsing again, and the crystal pulsed faster, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. Part 3. The Curse Begins. At first, Eldric ignored the signs. He thought the crystal just needed refining. But strange things began to happen. Shadows in his castle started whispering his name. Candles lit themselves at night. When he looked in the mirror, sometimes the reflection didn't follow his movements. And then came the voices. They called to him, hundreds of them. The voices of every soul he had sacrificed. "You took our lives, Eldric. Now we'll take yours." Eldric, furious and afraid, raised the crystal high and shouted, "I am your god! You obey me!" The crystal flared, blinding light exploding from it, and for a moment, the voices fell silent. Then he realized something horrifying. The veins on his hands were glowing red. The crystal's light was inside him now. He had bound his own soul to the life crystal. Part 4. Immortality's Price. Days turned into weeks. Eldric stopped eating, stopped sleeping. Yet he didn't grow weak. He couldn't. His heart no longer beat. It pulsed with the same rhythm as the crystal. He was alive, but not human anymore. He could feel everything. The movement of worms under the soil, the breath of the dying miles away. But he couldn't feel his own heartbeat. He had achieved immortality, but every second of it burned. His skin grew pale as ash, his eyes glowed like molten gold, and his laughter began to echo even when he wasn't speaking. The people who once worshipped him fled the kingdom. Children cried at the sound of his name. And still, Eldric wanted more. He decided if life itself bowed to him, the world should too. He began raising the dead, armies of twisted corpses bound by his will. Villages burned, rivers turned black. He was no longer Eldric the Eternal. He was Eldric the Devourer. Part 5. The Boy and the Mirror. One night, years later, a young boy named Rowan entered the ruined castle. He was no warrior, just a peasant boy whose village Eldric had destroyed. He carried nothing but a mirror, cracked and old. He found Eldric sitting on his throne, surrounded by the glowing remains of his magic. "You're the monster who killed my mother." "Monster? No, boy. I'm what your god could never be, eternal." "Then look at what eternity made of you." Rowan lifted the mirror. For the first time in decades, Eldric saw his reflection clearly. Not the illusion he conjured, the truth. A hollow figure with burning eyes and veins of fire. A creature made of every life he'd stolen. The souls inside him began to scream again, not in anger this time, but in judgment. They reached out from within the mirror, pulling at him, whispering, "Come join us, Eldric." He tried to resist. He shouted spells, shattered windows, melted stone, but the mirror wouldn't break. Rowan pressed it closer, tears streaming down his face. "You can't play God forever." And with a final scream, Eldric's body exploded into light and was pulled entirely into the mirror. The crystal dropped to the ground and shattered into dust. Part 6. The Legacy of the Cruel Magician. When the villagers returned months later, they found Rowan sitting on the throne. He held the mirror in his hands. Inside it, faintly, they could see Eldric's face, frozen in silent rage. Rowan never spoke again after that night. Some say he hid the mirror deep beneath the castle. Others say the mirror still stands in the ruins, waiting for someone curious or foolish enough to look inside. But every year, on the nights lightning strikes the sea, a whisper echoes through the cliffs. "I am eternal." And sometimes, just for a second, the waves glow red, like the heartbeat of a crystal buried far beneath the shore. No magic can make a cruel heart immortal. It only makes the cruelty live forever.